5:30. This was set to be just a study or work session, so no action, and we are recording live, so those that couldn't be here tonight will be able to either see it in real time or go back and watch it. You got your books in front of you. I tried to get them delivered yesterday the best I could. A few I couldn't line up with, but we can go back over the what's in and out if you want to start with that, or if you want to really just start with discussion. But we do have the partnership present. That was one of the questions that was asked about some additional information. They're prepared to give some information, do question and answer. And then we talked some about maybe how the fee structure for the departments that charge for their services, how that might get impact later. Right now, due to the state's thing, we are in the process as departments in putting a program, or we got to evaluate and assess what those fees are. Again, they cannot exceed what it costs to operate those departments, but there will be some residual benefit if we're able to adjust those fees going forward back into the general fund. And so, but no way we could have all that together today because the state's still trying to figure out how they want the formulas looked at to validate what we say our costs are. So on that note, is there objection to going ahead and letting the partnership speak, or do you want to start with question and answer as the commissioners, or do you want us to go back through the ins and out of the budget and let that start the conversation? How would you like to proceed as the commissioners that are here? Well, certainly we're going to hear from them. Would you want them to go first, or would you want us to go right back through the book as far as what we proposed in and proposed out?
Why don't we go back through, because we got some people in the audience who,
okay,
and
totally.
I only catch a little bit of it.
Okay, all right. Robert will then get started with that, and then we'll do question and answer and evolve on. Is that okay with everybody?
Okay, this is under tab 1, and you've got highlights of the budget, and this is the general fund. And what it includes, number 1 is the step increases for the employees and a 3% cost of living adjustment. There is a 2.9 for the judge. All of the elected officials or appointed officials, it's 3%. Number 2, the election budget includes a cost for one election. I think last year we had 2, so now it's 1. 3, the codes budget includes an increase in software shared with planning, and the planning budget reflects a decrease. 4, county buildings includes a $100,000 estimate for the bell tower renovation and a $250,000 elevator refurbish, and this is to be paid from the courthouse renovation funds, which are restricted. Number 5, the property assessor includes increases of $2,800 for postage, an increase of $10,000 in contracted services due to audits and appeals, increase in office supplies, $357. Increase in data processing paid to the state of $300, increase in dues of $342, and the reappraisal budget reflects an appraisal year with temporary increases for postage. And we've got it broken out for what the reappraisal part will cost. I'm not going to read the rest of the numbers in that sentence, but number 6, the trustees' budget includes 10% increase in data processing services, postage, and office supplies. Number 7, the county clerk includes a one-time increase in data processing equipment, and this is due to an increase of customer activity. Number 8, IT budget includes an increase in software for email and multi-factor authentication as required by our insurance. In order to get cyber insurance, we have to have that. Number 9, the general sessions, juvenile court, other administration and justice budgets were reclassified for proper allocation of operational expenses, and that's no new money. The sheriff's budget includes the first payment for the flock camera system, $47,900. The first payment's due when the camera is installed and expected in the fall. $8,360 is in contract services for year 4 of the Motorola body cam contract. $17,000 increase to the inmate phone system for investigative tools that were removed from the contract. Jail includes $153,582 for inmate medical and dental costs. Number 11, juvenile detention includes an additional $3,600 for communications for their buildings, connectivity, and internet. This was previously shared with the sheriff, and when they moved out, we had to pick that up on the juvenile side. Number 12, EMA budget includes 2,000 increase in utilities. Number 13, fire department budget includes 10,000 increase in communication costs based on the actual cost of this current year. There's a $4,800 increase for required SCBS and compressor testing, $1,500 increase in cost of training. Number 14, the health department includes an increase of 4,000 in utilities. Number 15, the EMS budget includes an annual budget for a remount, and this is typical. Number 16, solid waste budget includes 300,000 increase in waste disposal contract, 25,000 decrease in fuel, 5,000 decrease in tires and tubes. 17 is just miscellaneous and includes an increase in the annual audit fee, estimated autopsy fees, an increase in workers' comp building contents insurance. The budget includes the mayor's request of 100,000 for the elderly low-income tax relief program. That's all of the general fund that's been included. Next is the highway fund. That includes an annual step plus a 3% cost of living adjustment. The next one is the capital projects fund, 178. This is the county capital projects fund, and in that we have the sheriff's patrol cars, 492,000 with an upfit. We have ARP projects that are still pending, 394,000 for broadband remaining. It was originally 700,000. 60,742 remaining on the water line project, 401,800 on the TDEC grant match, and 664,750 remaining on the industrial road development project. This was originally estimated at 750,000. Now we have the debt service fund. We're transferring a one-time amount to the to the county capital projects for interest earned, and this is when we earn extra interest that we hadn't planned on. The sheriff's vehicles, this will include 226,000 for cars that was not included in the annual capital projects allocation that I mentioned previously. EMA, 100,000 for the TAC and radio system, parts for repairs, and 600,000 for the remodel of the building. Fire, 17,200 for the TAC and radios, 70,000 for a response vehicle. Fire also had $1,350,000 for a heavy rescue truck and some other fire projects. Solid waste, 80,000 for a compactor at Unionville. The jail, 75,000 for a repeater for communications inside the building, because without the repeater, they cannot communicate inside the jail with the radio system. Animal control, 90,000 for the animal control truck. Health department, 20,000 for a fire panel. This is per codes, and we didn't have a choice on this one. That completes the county capital projects, and the next one is the school capital projects. This is coming from the additional sales tax revenue that we had received. And this is also a one-time expenditure. Student computers, $2,274,505. Various roofing projects, $356,000. Parking lot projects, $300,000. Intercom replacements, $160,000. Cooling towers and boilers, $480,000. HVAC units, $100,000. Tile and carpet replacement, $150,000. Fencing, $15,000. Door replacements, $90,000. Bleacher replacements, $50,000. Concrete replacement, $25,000, and school repeaters, $400,000. It's the same issue that we have with the jail. Some of these schools, they cannot communicate inside, so they need the repeater. The last page is what's not included. There's no increases for nonprofits, and this would have amounted to $58,307. The sheriff requested increase the rank stipends, and a 5% estimate would be $15,000. The sheriff requested 4 additional road deputies of $298,000, pay and benefits, plus the TAC and radios, uniforms and gears, and vehicles. And the last one, fire, they requested 3 or 6 firefighters. 6 additional firefighters would be $429,473, and benefits, $2,400 for uniforms, $11,000 for training. TCRS contributions for volunteers, or a check for each volunteer firefighter at the end of the year, $90,000, or a property tax credit for volunteer firefighters that would meet the activity requirements. Requesting look at the future plans for new fire station headquarters, the fire station for Station 1 plan, grant match if awarded, a FEMA grant, and the amounts unknown at this time. So that's the county side, and the roads. If you go over to tab 10, you will see the highlights for the school budget.
Do you want to do question and answer before you go to the schools, or you want to keep talking?
Take any questions.
Okay, go ahead. What's the question?
Who's doing the remodel in the EMA?
So, he here?
No, Jeff's not here.
No, I mean the emergency, is David Kitchens here? We've been internally working with the project folks to try to, get that through. I'm not sure, when you say who's doing it, like who got the bid or the contract doing, I'm not positive. I'm not sure that has it been bid yet? Do you know more? Yeah, I'm not sure. Tho- Right, those funds were held back for that. Right, correct. So the new building would be suitable for, yeah.
But the leftover funds, I believe, are going back to fund balance. Right. Yeah, they're going back to the restricted fund balance. We're moving to 600,000 from debt service. Right.
Correct. Yeah, this has been an ongoing process. They've been doing it in phases, some of the work that they were trying to get done. It was functional to operate, but it was not set up to be the emergency operations center and the other components they would need, hardened area for weather. And at one time, there was a discussion about maybe 911 tying on to it, which I think 911 decided to go a different direction as far as their part, but still the build out would have to be. But those funds have been tracking associated with the sale of the other building. Did I misspeak? Okay.
Tab 10.
Okay. Ready to go to tab 10? Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Sylvia, do you have a question? Okay. All right. Let's go. Okay. We can always come back to it. So we'll go on to tab 10. And that starts the school stuff.
Okay, this is the highlights of the school budget on tab 10. 4.5% raise and step increases for certified staff, 6% increase in step increases for classified staff, 3 additional English language learner teachers, 2 additional ACT prep teachers at high school level, 4 additional high school teachers, 4 additional middle school teachers, 1 elementary PE teacher, 2 additional middle school secretaries, a cybersecurity systems analyst position, laptops for 2,450 students and 800 teachers, new salary schedule for the school nutrition department, 1 additional CDC elementary special ed teacher. So that's the highlights of the school.
Which school, Dr. Garrett, is that elementary special ed teacher going to? Do you know off the top of your head?
Cartwright. I can go through those if you want. The CDC is Cartwright. The PE is Cartwright. The 2 middle school secretaries, one is Liberty and one is Community Middle. We've tried to do 2 a year because 4 years ago they had to use an EA to cover the front desk, so we've tried to add a few every year. The middle school and high school teachers, those are all career and technical education, primarily. Like Cascade's going to be a cybersecurity class. Chevrolet Central's an AV class, like audio visual. I'm trying to make all the middle schools except for 1 math are CTE, so we can take that lower down to the middle school. What we've learned is from kids is they want to start exploring more in middle school to see what they're good at. And let's see, the community.
We like that for workforce development.
I'm trying to think of what else.
Dr. Garrett, the cybersecurity systems analyst position, will that work in with Christy and all that
Yeah,
other
they
crew? I mean,
will.
they'll all be,
Yes, they will work in the technology department. That every day, all day,
I know.
people try to hack because of
know.
kids and social security numbers. So that person will primarily do that, but we'll do some other things as well in that department.
And I think our insurance also has raised the standards of what they expect from us to be able to have cybersecurity. I think we're dealing with that on our side as well. So, I mean, obviously, it's going to continue to be a hot button issue,
Yes.
cybersecurity.
And the other thing that we have battle with are all, and I appreciate all the laws protecting data, but we have to vet any program that goes on any computer now with the company to make sure that they have systems in place to protect the privacy and data of the students. So everything that we use, somebody has to look through that and make sure that it meets all the standards.
Yeah, please.
That's the local portion. Probably not this year.
Yeah, saying the 200 and something thousand is being credited out of debt service as opposed to being straight into the.
Well, yeah.
Right.
And of course, where we got ourselves now, if anybody really realizes this at this point, they've got our major effort, 20 million, 33,000. So the difference between 14 million, really the difference between 13 million, 789 and 20 million, 933 debt service. Once debt service falls off, and that was the two biggest things, you have to come up. It's a component to that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Or you won't get caught.
Roger that.
I guess we're going to continue the schools out here in the state, all 94 other counties, all 140 other school districts, fund more than the state requires. In fact, all the other districts on average fund 75% more than we require. We continue. Well, our schools. And in the last 4 years, what we've given to the schools is around 144,000 more. In the last 4 years, which is less than 1%. But yet we've given general government 62 million, 62% or thereabout, or over $6 million. Apparently, schools are not required to give that. Period. And nobody seems to be alarmed, seems to be upset. If anybody calls, I'm going to do while I'm still on commission. And in the paper, we might say, if we give the lowest funding in the state, but yet we have the biggest need. We got 1,600 kids in the city. We got half of our kids poverty
Yes, and they're not letting you use carryover.
How much dollars is that?
What was it? I think it was around 600,000 in Title I. Yeah.
600,000.
That means about 7 interventionists. That won't
What
get
did,
the
I didn't hear the thing, shut up. What'd you say last? It means what?
we had to put 7 interventionists
Oh, seven,
back
okay.
in classrooms.
And then here we got part, yep. And I can tell you from working in industry, relocating plants around the country, the number one thing people do when it comes to location, long overdue. You're not gonna get the industry that you want. You gotta put all the things. You can put all the growth here, you don't see there. You can spend money, travel here, travel there. Unless you're school, okay with us, very good. Unless you're school, first, your only thing we're gonna get is low in labor. Putting potential in the pot. You're not gonna get value added.
And I appreciate you fighting for kids and educators, and I know that you have done that. Last time I did say that we appreciate the money that you're anticipating or requesting we use from debt service. But I do think as a county, we've got to come up with a plan going forward, whether it's 5 years or 10 years, when that debt falls off, how are we going to get there from the school's perspective? Because we can't, this year will be the last time we can not have any additional funds.
They got people somewhat similar to surrounding, thinking outside the box. The only way you can keep it is to not have as many people. That affects the student situation. And here we've got this needy population. And population, population poor, they want to get, they have a home environment. Get them, so this is where we are. Our county. Continue to suffer. But we realize something. You know, it's not like your life. I don't know about your life, but when I have priorities in my life, I can sometimes come up with priorities. I can make it. I maybe have to suffer something else, but I can make it. Something I've been trying to do is keep. May not be the best of what others have, but I can come up with priorities. I think most people, until we turn around and realize education is our priority, parents is our priority throughout the state, 140 school districts. On average, there's some, maybe 6-7% more, but on average, 75% more increase. You take 7 weeks, so the required here is 15 million. Say 50% more, what, 7 million?
Say it one more time. Is that a question for me?
Well, no, it's a mistake.
I think that'd be
I got
50%.
lost.
Yeah, that'd be 50% of a 14 million would be
Yeah,
7 more
so, you know,
million.
and so I think get 250,000, at least get up to the requirement.
Yeah, what was that number you read off before? It was 230. What did you say it was? The difference that would just make it neutral.
225. wasn't it?
225,650.
So are you proposing, Mr. Boutwell, that we find 220?
Yeah, 2 cents.
Until, I'm on a soapbox, and I know, I realize people see the world without it. And I'm just one person. I just want to make my case. And will the body do something different?
I think John and I have had this conversation many times and the data he looks up is great. You know, looking back, we got so far behind, and Robert can probably give a dissertation on everything from 2008, 9, 10, 11. We also, at the commission level, didn't do things that projected ahead for the future. And hope we can overcome and have overcome some of that. But right now, and the mayor can address this, John, we're almost caught up, except for our EMS services
You know,
and things.
And I realize that. I think the whole county suffers from being behind.
Yes.
We caught up with fire, ambulance, all enforcement, sheriff's deputy enforcement, all that. Went up to the courthouse and worked. Carl was holding the court room,
Mhm.
the storage room.
That's a fact.
So, you know, there's just a lot of needs, but
But there is a time.
But I'm trying to stress, we're trying to keep on stressing. How long? Maybe a year or two, maybe 10. Keep stressing. It's the most important thing we can do for our economic.
Definitely how we get people out of poverty. No question.
We won't be a bottom feeder county. We can attract people.
Yeah, I just got a text saying that they can't hear live. So
Yeah.
when y'all speak, I need to either, I'll be happy to give you my mic or go to the podium so everybody can hear it. Yeah, no, not necessary. But
Yeah.
Get warmed up.
yeah, well, that's
Well,
certainly
you
so.
know,
Yeah.
I'm not ill with anybody. But it's somebody's got a point. Somebody's got a pound of paper. Because otherwise, you don't realize it. You just keep on going.
So, Mayor, can we, looking at that, looking at our emergency services needs, let's actively look at all this for next year.
And I know the school system is very appreciative of what you've done. Normally that would not.
Yeah.
That's almost like giving I really.
But structurally, you're absolutely correct. And I've seen the state emails where they, I mean, that's certainly what you say is the direction, and it's got to be the build out going forward. And that's just on the 225, just rough numbers, is a couple of pennies that we're behind right now. And of course, that's going to grow. We've talked about that in the past too. It'll get harder and harder to close the gap on it if we don't have a plan going forward. So we certainly recognize that's got to, we got to continue to do that.
And Dr. Garrett, you have a 10-year plan, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And so, I know they've worked toward that, which should help us with
Now that-
everything.
Now, is that primarily your building programs, or do you also,
We have a 5-year strategic plan on academics, and
Okay.
we haven't finalized our 10-year. We've been working through it. We wanted to get through budget, and then we'll come back
Okay,
to that
okay.
and finalize that, and then I'll be able to bring that to you guys.
right, and we're kind of in the same boat
Yeah.
in that we got to figure out where we land so we know how to
Yeah.
tweak out the end of that. Look, we've been talking about handing the mic.
Dr. Garrett, where are the
There you
three
go.
additional
Thank you.
English language learning teachers going to be positioned?
I'm pretty sure one is Shelbyville Central. Give me just a second. I think one is Learning Way, Shelbyville Central, and it's another elementary school.
City, inside the city, where the,
That is correct, yes. And that is, for a while at the first of the year, we had slowed down, but we've seen that come back up recently. So
Okay.
the state has wanted us to have 3 to meet the 35-to-1
Okay.
ratio.
and with the additional CTE instructors, that will allow you, I know you're having some difficulty finding people who actually have the school credentials and the workforce experience, and that's a very challenging position. But will this allow you to create some more of those CTE classes, or will just help you fill the gap into what you've got right now?
Create additional CTE classes is what we are able to do. The state has really loosened up to help us on that workforce problem with getting folks licensed, because if you have 30 years in cybersecurity, you don't want to go back to school for 2 years to get, licensed. So they have allowed us a different path to do that. So I think it will help us in securing some of those positions.
May I ask one last question? So the way I'm looking at and seeing state funding for education is really merging with workforce development and how we get the people trained to go into the workforce. Are you sensing and seeing that same transition that they're doing?
Yes, and also high school looks a little differently than it has in the past, and that takes some getting used to for some folks that had a traditional high school path. So, for example, we have students from all 3 schools next year as a senior going to Montlow Middle College. Like they've all, they're actually going to be in college. They'll be a student, and we have people going to the workforce. So it's not the traditional everybody's in there all day long. And that does take some getting used to, because some people feel like, well, they don't have as much school spirit, or that we're working through some of those growing pains, but it does look differently than it used to, because we are going to that, whether you're going to go to the workforce or military or college, to get out sooner or meet your needs. And it's not necessarily everybody has to finish in 3 years or 3.5 or whatever, but to go in depth so you can get the higher ACT scores, you can get that college money to help you go to college.
Thank you.
And Mark, I know in your organization, you might call it deferred maintenance or some of the other things that your operation faces, but y'all have also seen the state restructure how you guys have get funds and have left y'all out, really, even with some ARP funds at one time that did help schools and county. And so from a little different perspective, but same concept, I assume that you would agree that you've got needs beyond what your current structure supports as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep this where we're not here this time tomorrow, because I could hold the meeting all night on my needs of what we need also. So yeah, there is needs all over the county. Every department needs extra funds of some kind. Trying to find those funds is what the $1 million question is, and where the need on a haystack is. It's not just one entity. Schools are very important, and they do a great job, and everything is good about that. But if you focus on one entity in any kind of governmental stuff, you're letting everything else fall back too. So you need to look at it as a whole. You can't look at one factor that takes money away from other things that needs to be done. So, I could give my own little speech, probably better than John did right then for a longer time, but, I'm going to move on from there. Yeah, everyone is moving forward to it, because I passed out a thing to the commissioners, I think 3 years ago or 2 years ago, giving you a synopsis of what it would take to get the county road in a 20 to 30 year cycle, minimum, just to get us caught up. We're looking at $4.5 million a year of me doing road work, where I think, in my indications, in the 5 years I've been your road superintendent, I have done more roads in the 5 years, and I've spent more money that we're having to squeeze and move and put things off than has been done in the history of the highway department since it had a tracking. So everyone needs extra funds of some kind, and I think if we're going to do a plan, schools has to be a major part of it. There's no doubt about that. But when you're looking at a plan moving forward, you have to look at it as a whole. You start with schools and you pick something else and you add everything in, because there's only so much money to go around, just like it is at your house, and you have to pick and choose of where you can move that money to. But sometimes you can pay your light bill, but if you got to eat, you got to try to figure out how to find the money to also eat. So it's like spreading the money some kind of way among everything in the government.
Yeah, so certainly that plays into exactly, again, what he's saying. We need to be looking at a long-term strategic structure that recognizes that there's gonna have to be revenue streams tied to specific goals for us to be able to get where we're going. That
Yep.
to cut from one this year, but then give it to another, and then next year cut from that one to give to another, which is sort of what has happened historically with county government. It kind of moves the situation more than it really puts us on a trajectory to solve it going forward. Again, I feel like everybody up here, and including the audience, is obviously recognizes the value of that. So we continue to look for ways to do that. We were trying to get stable, and we're getting awful close there where we can really hopefully lean in going forward with a model that makes that predictable and clear as the direction for what the structure would have to be.
Maybe just
Sure.
two little comments and then I'll be quiet. Mentioned $6 million. In fact, really what, from fiscal year ending 2022, to the budget that we're looking at here, that is the general government, or the 101 general fund, out of local tax, $5,903,000 more, or 34% more. The highway department has gone up $385,000 more in that period, or 37% more. Of course, it's a smaller number. Schools went up 0.91%, less than 1%, or $124,000. And back in 2022, schools were 42%. I'm just rounding now. Schools were 42% of the budget. Highways were 3.19%, and general fund was 54%. In this budget, the general government is 60%, highways 3.66, and schools are 35 or 36%. So schools have gone from 42.65, 42.65% to 35.5%. Whereas all the other, the highway and the general fund, percentage-wise, have increased. Now, the highway is not a lot, and that's just local taxes. You know, you get revenue from a lot of other places.
Well, but on the highway side, if you want to talk this, I'll talk with you all day long.
Well,
I wasn't bashing anything what you were saying about schools. Schools are very, no doubt about that. All I was saying was, if you focus on one entity, everything else gets left behind. You have to focus on it all. You can't focus on one thing.
Well, that's true.
But your numbers are wrong on the highway. The highway in this budget is 2.16%.
I'm just looking at
of
the local
of the
taxes.
budget.
I'm looking at the local taxes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you
Because
want,
that's all we have control over is the local taxes.
well, that's what I'm looking at. My number is 2.16% of what highway gets
Which tab?
in that part. It's in your back of your budget book of what it is right there. But I'm not fighting to get more money in the school.
Okay.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is,
Oh, I agree.
what I'm saying
Yeah.
is, schools need to be your top priority. That is the thing that moves the needle forward. But in the same token, just to make a dumb statement, if you don't have any roads to get to schools, the schools ain't gonna be any good. So
Well, I'm not
that's just a
disagreeing.
quick, easy
I'm not
thing to
disagreeing.
try to understand. But
Okay.
and I'm not sitting here horsing for money because I don't do that. But I just don't. I wasn't downgrading anything that she was saying about schools. I
Well-
wasn't saying that at all. And Chad brought up a good thing. The mayor did, where we're all having to. Our funds have all dropped down, but the reason why that number on highway jumped up, that was 3 years ago when the commission voted to give me 3 extra cents. That is the difference in that right there. That's the only way it's ever jumped in my 5 years that I've been here in budget.
And you do a good job with those funds.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. I ride a lot of them. I was on Pickle Road today,
Which one?
going toward Lewisburg.
Yeah.
On the way to my chiropractor.
Bunch of
Yeah.
people.
When is the last time the schools got an increase, Robert?
I will have to look. I don't know.
Has it been within the last 20 years?
Oh, yeah,
5, 10,
probably within 10,
10?
not the last 5 as far as property.
Yeah, now you're referring to operating budget or capital investment?
I think he was referring to the operating. right?
Operating, yeah, operational. Anybody else got anything they want to say specific to schools? Again, we can come back to it. I'm just trying to circle back to the point where we can have the partnership get up and make some comments and then take questions from you guys. Are we ready for that? Oh, okay. He wants to add one thing before we do that.
When you look at your book, tabs 10 through 13 relate to schools, just so you know what you're looking at on there. 14 relates to policies, and tab 15 shows the computation of the tax rate and how we calculate that, as well as there is a pie chart in the back showing the percent of the appropriations to the total budget. So that's just for information purposes.
Robert, Diane had a question last time. Is it under tab 9? On
Yes. Debt service under tab
debt
9.
service. Diane, look over on that and see if there's,
We have a schedule that shows all the debt. It shows what was authorized to be issued, the amount that was outstanding at the beginning of the next fiscal year, which is June 30th, 25. It shows the principal and interest payments for next year, and then the total debt service. And then we provided a chart, which we thought would make it easier to see where the debt drops off, and then we got one for county and one for schools. So you can see the debt over the life of that debt.
Yeah, so the I didn't hear what she said. I didn't hear.
She didn't think we had the.
Oh, okay. Is it in yours now? Okay,
It's
okay,
in this
okay.
one. And
Yeah, it looks like.
And on these bonds, kind of what I was looking for too, are which bonds are these schools tied to? That was a little more, I guess I was wanting a little more detail than just what's here for the numbers,
We've
just
got-
for my own information.
In red is the school bonds on that summary sheet,
Mm-hmm.
and in black is the county bonds. So we color coded it so you can see, and then there's a summary at the bottom of that page too.
So like on the general obligation series 2016, it's in black. That would have been the judicial center.
You're talking about, it's in red?
No, it's in black.
Let me see.
Which one did you?
Oh, okay. I see what you're talking about. Yes, that would have been.
Okay. And then like if we went up to that series 2004 on the school bond, that was even way back when. I didn't know which schools they were tied to. And when will they retire off? Is that on here?
It's color coded on the next few pages.
Okay. That'll be in the graphs that we got.
And you've got a legend that tells you the color codes on the right side at the top of the page.
It's awful small.
It is small, but we made it fit.
Well, I think that was the problem. It was so
magnifying
small I
glass,
couldn't
you can
see
read
it.
If I'd expanded it,
I
we
can
had
read
about
it,
10
y'all.
pages.
I'm gonna have to take a picture with your phone.
Linda says she can read.
I can read it,
Can
get
you read
over it. Yes, I can.
I can't.
I can't.
And I don't.
I can't see it.
Oh,
Wah, wah, wah.
Lori had a point. The graphs are based off of the refunding date, not the original issue date. Because sometimes we had a bond and we reissued, and we saved interest by doing that. So it's based on the date we reissued. Or refinance, I guess is a better term.
Fill me in. 'Cause you're right.
Right, okay, back there? All right up here so far? Ready to move on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, so let's have the partnership. Do you want to ask your question again, or are y'all just prepared to, do you have a little snapshot and then just take questions? How did? You okay with doing a snapshot and then we just ask questions? Yeah, so would you, okay, yeah, if you got, I think it'd be better if you go to the podium.
While they're getting up there, and Kelly can help me, and Dr. Garrett may know more too. Kelly, I had Kelly look up on our percent of students that go to another level, and we went up 1%, true. But, Dr. Garrett, what I'm not sure of, but I think I'm right when I say this, that year it's like a year behind. We only had those career coaches and some of the other things that you had implemented into it, probably for a semester. So I'm hopeful that next year we'll see even a larger jump on that, and with the CTE things that are being addressed. The other little quick thing while I'm on that, did we figure out how we can count what Mark's doing and EMS services doing to get these people certified as a next level?
In our career, college and career ready
Okay,
numbers is where
good,
that
good.
goes in.
Because that's several students. I mean, it's per year, it's probably 30 something students.
Yes. And I also want to
And
say.
it's what, 27, is it 27 students for each percent? I
believe
It's either 24 or 27. So if we could get them incorporated within it, that would jump us another percent. And these are the percentages that, like John was saying, that people look at when they do. But I'm really proud of that, Dr. Garrett, that we did come up that 1% and hadn't had those people long.
Yes,
just for that one
and we've
semester.
got some Gear Up folks that I think you'll start seeing our college going rate increase too. They just started last semester, so I think that will help as
Good.
well. They're doing a lot of college visits and things like that, so I think you'll see that.
Thank you.
Also, if I can, I want to make sure that you guys know that I support the work that we are doing with you. I do think that if you have questions, that doesn't mean I'm opposed to it. I just, I'm a person of clarity and I've got to know things. So I just want you to know that I support the work you do. We work very closely together. So I don't want you to think that because I had questions that it was, my job is to look out for schools, and I felt they were fair questions. So I do want you to know that I support the work you do and we enjoy working with your folks. So I want to make sure that I was clear on that.
It's got the floor.
Thank you all for this special invitation to be here. I can't think of any place I'd rather be. Sitting there thinking, I only wish my wife were here to hear that people do go through a budget. Anyway, again, thanks so much. My name is Jody Lambert. I'm the current chair of the Shelbyville Bedford Partnership. We had requested a $100,000 investment from the county to fund the partnership. Been hearing a lot of the comments and so many of the uses of funds and the problem of having sources of funds. And that's what we want to try to accomplish and help the county do, is create sources of funds. I was reading a quote from the Tennessee Department of Tourism Development Commissioner, and he said, I don't think that people realize how these visitor taxes are one of the main reasons why we as residents don't have a personal income tax, and why our tax per capita is, as a Tennessean, is one of the lowest in the nation. It's because we have a sales tax that actually captures from visitors money that we can use for Tennesseans. So, by expanding the tax base, one thing being the sales tax base, you increase or decrease the actual tax rate burden if you have the expanded tax base. So those are solutions that we're trying to strive to achieve. One of the things that Kelly had done on behalf of the partnership is sought grants for tourism, and she got there were approximately 6 grants totaling $138,400. So there is a study that was commissioned by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, and that study found that for every $1 of expenditure on tourism advertising resulted in $11 of tax revenue. Again, $1 of expenditure for tourism advertising resulted in $11 of revenue, tax revenue. And that was the average across the country. Tennessee was 19. As far as community benefit, $1 of expenditure resulted in $521 of community benefit. So, translating those numbers through grants, the partnership received $138,400 of grants for tourism. So you convert those numbers to additional tax revenue. You wind up with $1,522,400 of additional revenue created by those grants that Kelly had worked on. The community benefit, using the, and again, I'm using the $11, which is the average, not the $19. The community benefit of those grants, expending $1 or $138,400, was $34,738,400. So that those numbers came again from a study commissioned by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development. Other things that Kelly's, the partnership's done, Kelly's worked on is workforce development. One of the big events that happened was we lost 67 jobs with National Pen through Kelly's efforts at the workforce development. 90% of those people now have jobs. They have jobs making more money than they did previously. The Chamber of Commerce is now under the umbrella of the partnership. The Chamber of Commerce is since 2023, and they've increased that membership by 8% within the last 2 years. The events that they're having have surged from 7 events a year to over 40 events. So great opportunities for members of the business community to interact and build relationships that help with their respective businesses. Leadership Bedford is also under the partnership. It has been very active. Commissioner Johnson's been very involved in Leadership Bedford and do a lot of positive things for our community. And then finally, related to the partnership is the Shelbyville Bedford Community Foundation. And this may be the question which you were getting to, Dr. Garrett, is the relationship between the foundation and the partnership. So the partnership is a 501c6, and the foundation is a 501c3 entity. They were created on the same date as companion organizations. People in a trade or business can make contributions to the partnership and deduct those contributions under one code section of the internal code. But people who are not in a trade or business would not have that same ability to do that. So the 501c3, they can get a charitable contribution under a different code section. So it enables a broader pool of people to make contributions that benefit both the partnership and the community foundation. So that was the origins of the foundation, and typically would not be, the foundation would not be involved in operational type activities, but only fundraising as a means of funding not only the partnership but school system, and that's, it was primarily formed for educational purposes. So we have gone through, I think another issue was, well, what's the return on investment? And that's not typically, I mean, as a government providing services, you're providing services that the private sector won't do because it's not profit. But we have basically come up with an analysis, which I can take you through the details of it. But it's essentially the analysis with many assumptions, and it's a return on investment rate of return analysis, as opposed to an internal rate of return analysis or a discounted cash flow analysis. But based on that rate of return, or return on investment analysis, it comes up to a over the period of the life of the partnership, a 328.08% return on investment, or on an annual basis, if you take that divided by the number of years, it's 54.68. So a substantial return, and I can go, if you all want to hear all the details of it, I'm happy to go through it now. I don't know if you want to hear it, but if you may ask me if you want to do it. I will transit. So that's basically where we've been and where we're headed. Is we have a strategic plan that we're further developing, and basically there are 5 committees. There's the tourism committee, there's the infrastructure and growth committee, there's the economic development committee, and there's the chamber committee and the leadership veteran. But with that strategic plan, we will have actions to achieve our goals, our strategy. And those actions will be divided among these committees. And these committees will have members in the community, members of government. And everybody will know all the actions that we're trying to achieve and which committee is going to be carrying out those respective actions, so that they will know everybody will know the whole, and everybody will know where their piece fits in, what they're doing fits into the big picture. So tourism is viewed as the low-hanging fruit and right for it. We have Nearest Green, we have the Celebration, we have Duck River, we have the great airport, we have the road to Jack Daniels. We think there's a lot of opportunity. We're exploring with the Celebration, who has 286 RV slots, basically revamping it, redesigning the layout so that it is not only the RV park is not only a profit center when an event is occurring at the Celebration, it is a profit center all year round, and hopefully, again, generating even more sales tax for our community. One of the things, going back to tourism, Bedford County is number 49 out of the 95 counties as far as tourism. Statewide, the average savings per household created through tourism is $1,161 per household. In Bedford County, it is $156. So we're $1,005 of savings below the average. So again, the partnership will be striving to drive that number down, so we're closer to the average of $1,161 of savings per household. I appreciate your time. If you all have any questions, happy to answer them, but that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Do you have one first, or do you want to see in the audience what they might want to ask first?
I appreciate that. That was very helpful. Thank you. The only question that I had that I didn't hear an answer for, and you could tell me it's not realistic, but I'm thinking 4 or 5 years ago, and if I'm thinking incorrectly, please correct me, that someone said that the partnership would be self-sufficient in 5 years. Is that correct? Is that not accurate? Does it need to be corrected? I just want the public to know, what was said and what is accurate.
Sure. So, when you say and I was not here when those comments were made, but self-sufficient, we do get the grants, but we spend all the grants, and the grants create dollars that pass to the county and to the city. So those dollars don't flow to us. So, if we get dollars that are self-sufficient, I would submit that, in effect, the government is hopefully getting more dollars than they're giving to us, and we're just asking them to give back, so that be a conduit for the dollars that we're generating to replace those dollars. So I would argue that we would be self-sufficient in the sense that we are growing those dollars that you're getting, and you're only giving us a piece of those dollars back. So I would submit that we're self-sufficient in that respect.
Thank you.
Did you have another specific question yet? Okay, all right, in the audience. Yeah, can you get the mic, or somebody give her a mic, either one?
So how many full-time or part-time employees are there in the partnership or the different groups that you have listed here?
So we have 2 full-time employees and 1 part-time staffer.
Okay, and where do their salaries come from?
So that revenue is generated through public contribution and private contribution.
Do we have financials that break down how much you all are receiving in grants and donations? And you said there were different donations for the 501c6 versus the 501c3. Do we have those numbers that we could see?
We did submit the annual report to the finance department's office. That was required.
Okay.
So in regards to all of the great things you guys, or you just mentioned that you were doing, Mr. Lambert, is it possible to get, I know you mentioned to save us some time, but is it possible to get all those accomplishments emailed out to the commission? That's a question.
Yeah.
I would love to, from an ROI standpoint.
Yes.
I think you spoke very high level on a lot of things. I would love to see more of a granular approach to
Sure.
that recap.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Another question that I have is in regards to the partnership. I know that there's been a lot of questions from constituents across all districts that the partnership and the chamber are the same function. Can you guys kind of explain how that works? When did the partnership take over the chamber, and how does that function?
There was actually a legal merger. So there was a legal document that created this merger. And I think it was the effect. So it was effective July 1 of 2023. So Kelly can get into some of the details of the functions that the chamber has, but they're still continuing to carry out those functions just as they were previously. So I'll back up a little bit. So the partnership has a mission statement, and so the goal will be to cause all these different organizations that are under the partnership to have a synergistic effort to achieve those. But there's certainly pieces of that overall plan that the chamber fits in perfectly to carry out those actions that we're trying to achieve to attain the goals of the partnership. So they're operating, carrying out the actions that they have that they've done in the past, but with the end of achieving the goals or the mission of the partnership.
I understand. I still don't think that answers the question, though. As far as, I mean, what was the logic behind the partnership taking over? It seems like it seems like they should separate and be two identities. That's what the opinion of many.
Right. Quite frankly, I'm not sure of all the history. Kelly was actually with the chamber. I might let her touch on that.
Sure. So I think we can go pretty far back in the history. I've been involved in the community for nearly a decade now. I was an employee of the Chamber of Commerce. I started in 2016. In 2019, the city of Shelbyville opted to move the hotel motel tax away from the Chamber of Commerce and partnered with the county to start the Shelbyville Bedford Partnership. After that time, when the existing staff had left and they were down to a singular person, they moved out of their building, the question came to the partnership as to whether or not we would like to merge with the Chamber of Commerce and become one entity again. Historically, economic development, workforce development, tourism had fallen under the Chamber of Commerce's umbrella many, many years ago. And so essentially that brought everyone back together under the same umbrella. Mayor Graham, Commissioner Johnson, please correct me if I'm misspeaking on any of the history. And so we've continued to operate in a very similar manner as what the Chamber had in its earlier existence. But we've grown. So we've developed additional programming. We've listened to our members to try to figure out what it is that they need to really thrive and grow in Bedford County, and we've tried to provide those resources for them under the umbrella of the partnership. Now, my chairman had mentioned that in the last year and a half, we've seen a nearly 9% increase in members. We have roughly 350 to 360 members at this point in time, and we have really exploded in terms of the resources that we're providing back to the small business community under the chamber arm of the partnership. We're providing several networking events to allow those business members to connect with one another. We've partnered with the Tennessee Small Business Development Center to offer education classes back to the business community. So if you're a small business owner and you want to learn how to improve your business plan or understand your cash flow statements a little bit better, we'll bring in the Small Business Development Center out of Murfreesboro that consult one-on-one with our business community on a monthly basis. We're offering quarterly workshops for small business members to learn how to better market their business. And the end goal really is to ensure that these businesses are thriving and continuing to grow right here in Bedford.
Okay. Well, I mean, for the record, I just want to state that I'm a chamber fan, and I know that a chamber is very efficient in any given city or community. I understand that. So I'll hold any more questions. But, Mr. Lambert, team, I would like to see some sort of a recap that would have a more granular approach to the ROI structure other than a higher level.
Certainly.
Okay.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Well, Be glad to do that.
Can we get a copy of the financials emailed just to the commissioners? Okay. Thank you.
I think back to and this is kind of where Eric was asking, I think back to I was on the chamber board for a long time as an education person in the 90s and probably late 90s. And I always thought of the chamber then as there was economic development, supposedly. There was tourism, which was basically the horse show at that time. But things changed when we got into the 2010, 2015s. You didn't wait, as we had to an extent, for the phone to ring that somebody was coming to you or interested in you. You had to go out, and everything had to be proactive. And then we added the Uncle Nearest. We're still evolving with all the Duck River kayaking and so forth and so on, and the things that have come to downtown Shelbyville and are still coming there on the corner as you turn left to go to Lynchburg. How to capitalize on those. And we paid, and Kelly may remember, but at that time, Eric, we paid a good chunk of money to the chamber director or whatever they were called, with the same or a little bit more staff than what we've got now. But things have evolved so much, and the game has changed so intensely, and we tie in education and how, as Dr. Garrett's worked on our career coaches and all the things that with the CTEs, we're trying to mesh all of that, and a chamber could not do all of that. It could not. And as I've watched some of it, and I'm not into it like Scott, but that everybody plays off of each other, and if something's needed, the chamber reaches out to this or asks for that. By the same token, you all have asked the chamber to up the game as far as the things that are being presented. The last chamber thing that I went to, there were people there from Lincoln County, and I said, "Why are y'all here?" And he said, "Well," and it may not have been Lincoln County. Let me take that back. But it was from an outlying county, and he said, "We don't do anything like any of this outreach that you all are doing." So I think we're just really at the surface of things being able to be shown. It's almost in its infancy to me, especially as I work with some of the things on the chamber. It's just the beginning.
You done, Commissioner Yaki? No, I mean, because I'm sorry, ma'am. I don't know, because this is something that's near and dear to my heart, because having been part of the chamber before, now the partnership now, this, in almost all communities, those are all together for that synergistic effect that you have to have. And what happened was with the defunding before with the hotel, it came down to one chamber person trying to do whatever. The Chamber of Commerce asked the partnership to come back. They asked our board to come back, and it made a lot of sense to do that, because you got to be doing this. When you're talking about economic development, workforce development, tourism, chamber, all that goes just like this right here. You can't have disparate organizations competing. Basically, you got to have it all together. And that's why they asked to come back, and we welcomed them back. And it's working well, and it's improving all the time. So that's what happened historically.
Other questions for them? We're grateful for you coming and letting
Thank you.
the group
Thank you all for having
Thank
me.
you.
be face to face with you. Thank you for that. All right, where do you want to go to next? Is there something we've overlooked or another area you want to ask more questions about tonight? Which now we're planning to, now next Tuesday is commission. We weren't planning to really deal with the budget book. But the next Tuesday, committee, Robert and I are committed to be there after the committees meet to work with you again on any question or specific you want. If you want to contact the office and ask for it, we'll work to get it without having to do that. But we'll be available to you that Tuesday after the committees meet. Again, leading up to, I guess, the next week would then be when we would need to actually approve the budget. So the budget is not part of the county commission meeting for next week, obviously. It's special call into the month. But we'll have another opportunity for face-to-face. But we'll also will come to you or provide to you, communicate, however you want to do that to get more information. All right. If I'm not missing anybody or anything, are we ready to cut it off for tonight? All right. Thank you guys for coming and doing this.